All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the iShine podcast. I am your host, Angela A. Love Lewis, and I'm super excited to be here. I'm going to give you all a moment just to make sure you are tagging somebody, you are sharing this broadcast because trust and believe this information is going to be something that is going to benefit not only you, but your family too. So I see everybody coming on in. So, hi, Don. Hi, Nicole. Thank y'all so much. I see Nicole is tagging people. So good job, Nicole, Natasha. Thank you all. Come on in. Yes, I love it. I love it. You guys make sure y'all continue to share out the broadcast because tonight I have a very special guest on here, and I have none other than Jessica Johnson of the Jessica Johnson Law Office. So listen, y'all ought to, if we had a drum roll, Jessica, we would be like, and in the crowd like, because I think it's so good to not only have you here, but to have you as a guest with your very own law firm out here helping people with estate planning. So, welcome to the iShine podcast.
Thank you, Angela. I'm so happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, let me just kind of tell people a little bit more about you because I know that although y'all know that Jessica has her own law firm, she's in the DMV area, but she's been practicing law for 15 years and she's done it not only with estate planning now, but she started off in the housing market with criminal law and then even with veterans law. So that means she's very well rounded when it comes to practicing as an attorney. And so I just thought all of that was so great. But now that she's transitioned into estate planning, it's because she really saw the need and the importance of us being able to not only protect ourselves, but really to protect our families. And so, Jessica, that's just a little teaser, but I want you to give them a little bit more about who you are and how you got started in the business.
Well, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. As I said, thank you. I thank God for allowing us to be here tonight. And I'm so excited just to share the Jessica Johnson Law Office. As you said, we do estate planning, and I'm located in Washington, D.C. I have the opportunity to also work with another attorney, Rashida West. She's in Maryland. And I'm so excited because this is an area that I'm very passionate about. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, have a 5-year-old daughter. She's super sweet.
And cute and very cute.
Oh, thank you. And I tell people she is really the motivation and driving force behind me getting into estate planning. And so I started estate planning with her in mind. Okay. And so a couple of years ago, my husband and I, we've been married for 10 years, 11 years now. Mm-hmm. Time has flown. And so when we had our daughter, and I tell people this story, and I'll be honest with people, when we first had our daughter, we didn't really think about estate planning.
Yeah.
We didn't really think about, what would happen to her if one of us became incapacitated or if one of us passed away. We didn't think about it. We really didn't think about if both of us passed away, like what would really happen to her. And so that got me to, really looking at our mortgage documents, looking at our financial statements, looking at our whole financial picture and realizing we didn't have a plan. And so that's one of the driving forces that made me be proactive, but also it has me telling my friends, our families, making sure that, you are proactive and making sure that you have a plan.
Yeah.
And we tell people not just have a plan for death, but have a plan in the event that you're incapacitated, because people become incapacitated.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to your child in the meantime? What's going to happen to your bills? What's going to happen to your house? And so that's kind of the driving force that really got me really passionate, I think, about estate planning.
That's so good because for most people, as we're going through life, as we are, just going to work and getting married or having kids and just taking vacations, that, of course, we all have an expiration date. We all know that as we're accumulating things, we're just kind of enjoying them, not really thinking about the time where if something happens to us, or we're in a position where we can't make those health decisions, where we can't make those decisions of who's getting the house, when it, gets into a place where maybe the children that we have brought up inside the home can't even benefit from it. Sometimes those are not thoughts that we have. And so I think it's a very admirable and a very great thing that you're doing to step into that piece of law, to where you're bringing the awareness, because again, you don't think about it until it hits you, and then you're like, oh my God, what do we do now? When you think about your parents, or even being a parent yourself, like you say, having a child makes you want to make sure that they're good, and that everything that you've worked hard for is going to pass along to them. So I guess when you talk about plan, protect, and pass along, that is the formula. So can you speak a little bit about how to start those three actions and put them in place for your family?
So I really emphasize with people, first off, I tell people estate planning is for everyone. It's for everyone. So you have to make sure that you plan for yourself. Make sure that you have a plan, as I said, for if you become incapacitated. Protect your family, your children. Have a plan for that. I do wills, trusts, powers of attorneys, but you realize it's not just about those documents. It's really about the peace of mind that those documents bring to you.
Yes.
Because we know that when you're dealing with family members who have passed away or are sick, it's a super stressful time.
Yes.
And so that's why I emphasize with people, you have to plan for yourself. And a story that I tell people all the time is just really based on my own childhood and seeing family members pass away, and seeing how my mom would jump in and, try to plan funerals or try to make decisions for people, when in fact, those are things that we could plan for ourselves. And so I tell people, plan for yourself so that your family doesn't have to be stressed, or the people that are left, to make sure that your family is okay, they're not stressed, that you don't want to have conflict in your home when you could have planned for yourself. And then protecting, your family and passing along all of the things that matter to you. I don't like to emphasize on assets and passing on money, but we all need money. And we all know that, your children and your family members need money if you pass away or if you're incapacitated. Now, a lot of times we talk about building generational wealth. Everyone talks about that, right?
Yes.
And so with estate planning, when I talk about planning and protecting, and a very huge element of that as well is building generational wealth. And so when we thought about with our daughter, we really had to sit down, and you have tough conversations with your family, but you really do. We had to have that conversation, like, what's our long-term plan for our daughter? Are we trying to leave her a home? Are we trying to leave her money for college? Are we trying to leave her money, for one day if she wants to start a business? And so that's the planning and protecting your family. So that's kind of the concept and goal behind those thoughts.
Good. I'm glad you broke that down for us. And I'm going to go back to what you said about estate planning is for everyone, because I think that for a lot of times people feel like it's just for the rich. Like, I don't really have anything to, give away. So why would I be concerned about estate planning? Can you correct that myth?
I love to. And the example that I always use with people. Now, some people probably don't remember Dynasty. I don't know if you remember the show Dynasty.
Yes.
So most people are always like, when I think of estate plans, I think of Dynasty, because, they had the mansions.
Yes.
They had the big, large, lavish estates, right? And so most people, just like you said, think, I don't have enough stuff to have an estate plan. And when you really think about it, you have a lot of things that you need to plan for. I tell people, if you have children, if you are over the age of 18, or if you own a home, you need an estate plan. You have bank accounts. If you have any properties that just have your name on it, you may need to make a plan for what would happen to those items or assets in the event that you passed away. So if you have children, you definitely want to have a plan for your children. right? You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be rich just to have children, right? Most of
Right.
us, I'm not rich. But, I definitely take into consideration the plan for my daughter. So
Yeah.
I tell people, and I say it in my best Prince voice, I'm like, you don't have to be rich to need an estate plan,
Yes.
because you have so many more items, assets, and things that will have to be accounted for at some point.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I see Nicole Jerry Porter said, honey, absolutely. So, so true. That is good. And then Miss Sharon Davis came on and said, congratulations to my beautiful, smart, and intelligent cousin. Love you. God bless you and your family. That is so beautiful. I love when our family members can come on and really get a chance to, see you in your element, to see you
Yes.
shine, as we say for iShine, because it is really great to have someone like you to break these things down and give us a good understanding. Because a lot of times, again, when you're moving through life, you just always think we have time until you don't have time. And
Right.
so it's really good to be proactive and put some things in place for when you need them. So let's transition, because you said this all started with your daughter. And I know that one of the things I saw you mention was that when grandparents and godparents are not enough. And we started talking at this point about guardianship. So can you
Yes.
help us out with that?
So, with that, one thing, when I talk to most of my friends and I look at a lot of my cousins, growing up, everyone spent a lot of time with their grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
I spent every day
Mm-hmm.
grandparents. And so I think growing up, it was already understood that if something happened to me or happened to my parents, my grandmother would be there, right? And so even growing up, everyone had a godparent,
Yeah.
godmom, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so what I notice is a lot of times people just rely on their grandparents and rely on their godparents to step in the event that something happens. And what I found is a lot of times that's not enough.
Yeah.
You need to name short term guardians and long term guardians. And you also need to put this on paper. A
Mm.
lot of times people will just have grandma. A lot of times people will just have godparents. And it's not enough because there's never a written plan of, you know, where's the money going to come from to take care of these children? What
Yeah.
are your goals and aspirations for your children? And so when I say grandparents and godparents are enough, you need to make sure that you put on paper who are your short-term guardians, who are your long-term guardians. You know, let people know, what are your plans. Do you want your child to go to college? Do you want your child to start a business one day? So that's why, I say and I tell people, we have to add more. We have to do more. If you want to make sure that your children are taken care of the way that you want them to be taken care of, you need to put it on paper.
Oh, that's good. Put it on paper.
Yes,
It really requires us to kind of sit back and have those hard conversations, because
it
again,
does.
we even again, like I said, even though you know that you're going to die at some point in time, or even if you don't pass early, but you, again, like you said, get incapacitated, maybe you're
Right,
in a car accident and you are,
right,
in a coma or something. You want to be able to have things in place, because you don't want your child to have to get put into the system and be taking care of somebody else
right,
because you didn't specify, or
right.
God forbid, somebody else get them that you never would have wanted to have them. So it makes thinking about this now, is just really good. And that's why I'm so glad to have you on here tonight, because this is a time, you think about it, when COVID hit, nobody was expecting people to die at the alarming rate that they did. And
No.
so when you look at celebrities that are caught off guard, the everyday people were
Mm-hmm.
caught off guard as well. And
Yes.
so this definitely speaks to, again, being proactive, being
Yes.
intentional. And I believe you
Mm-hmm.
said about, the legacy that we want to leave, because it is about your legacy. It is
Right.
about when you leave here, what do you plan to leave, or what do you
Mm-hmm.
want to be, the residual that happens, or that your children can look back and say, hey, my parents took care of me. They made sure that we were good. They made sure that
Right.
things were set up and in place. So
Right.
let's go back and talk about how often should you update your plans?
So when you have a major life event, that's
Mhm.
a good time to update your estate plan. So if you have children, you get a new child. A lot of times people forget, they get new additions to the family and they don't make those updates to their estate plan. So when you make big changes, especially big changes, we suggest that you make those updates and make changes to your estate plan. Typically, we'll review every few years, but sometimes, as I said, people will have changes a lot more often. If you buy a new home, you want to update that estate plan. So depending on what life events you have, that will determine how often you should update it.
Okay. So y'all better get this information. Hopefully you are writing it down. Hopefully you are paying attention. If anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat so we can, make sure we get your questions answered by Jessica. She is, again, 15 years of experience in law, and not only with estate planning, but starting off in housing and criminal. How was that, Jessica, to be into these other pieces of law and practicing it before transitioning over to estate planning?
Well, I think each area gave me something different.
Okay.
So when I did criminal, I was in court all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that was, I think, as far as one of the best experiences as an attorney you could imagine. The training that I received through that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Housing was a very, very rewarding, I would say, experience as well, because it's a basic necessity. People need somewhere to live, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so helping people stay in their homes and maintain their homes was so rewarding. And so I took so much from it. I had the chance to really go into people's homes and work with people. I practiced in Colorado and I practiced in DC. And
Mm-hmm.
so just being able to work hands on with people in their homes was so very rewarding.
Oh, good, good. Even
And
with
then
that, I know
veterans
you.
law
Yes, I was getting ready
is
to
a
say the
whole,
veterans law.
yeah, veterans law. It opened my eyes up to so
Mm.
much because I've had relatives who served. And so being able to see the, firsthand insight into what veterans go through, it's tough. And I don't know if people um always appreciate what our veterans have gone through. But
Yeah.
that was definitely also an experience that I will say was rewarding, tough, but a very good experience, I think, that opened my eyes. So I definitely appreciate that experience as well.
That's great. So tell me, when it comes to practicing law, because you just mentioned that you were in Colorado and
Mm-hmm.
then now you're practicing in DC.
Yes.
Geographically, is there a difference when you're doing estate planning?
Well, I think my firm is in Washington, D.C. And
Mm-hmm.
so I practice in D.C. Um, I haven't practiced estate planning in Colorado quite yet. I haven't taken on um, Colorado estate planning clients, but I don't think there's a huge difference. I
Okay.
think the only difference is the code. That's the only
Okay.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Mm-hmm.
law itself, I can't say that I've seen a huge difference from when I was there, but the code, that's about the only difference I would say.
Okay, got you, got you. Now I know that it's one thing to practice law. It's a whole different thing to have your own law office. And so tell me about putting that together. What were your thoughts about, starting out and just doing your own thing?
It's something I wanted to do for so long. And
Really?
so, I mean, I've had the chance to work for the government. Um, and so I've always wanted to work on my own, but the opportunity never really just seemed perfect.
Yeah.
Um, and I look at my daughter, and like I said, she has been the motivating drive behind it. I share this story with people all the time about when I was really talking to my husband, like, I really want to get this started. I really want to, get it done. It was my little 5-year-old daughter that was literally like, Mommy, you can be anything you want. You can do anything you dream. I mean, just my little cheerleader. And so, when she sees me talking to clients and working with people, that's been my drive.
Mm,
Getting it started, there have been so many people that have helped me.
yeah.
I'll send a shout out to my church, the Life House in
Mm-hmm.
Bowie, Maryland. My church has been so helpful in so many ways. I mean, as far as just guidance, I've had so many people just from the beginning that have given me advice on, uh, you know, office space, um,
Mm-hmm.
classes that you should take, just social media things, just so many people. I look at my family, my mom and dad and my sister in Florida. They were very supportive. They were
Mm-hmm.
really like, just go for it. Do it. And my husband, he's the nicest person I know, but he was very encouraging as well.
Mm-hmm.
He always describes it as like, you're gonna be like Moses, and you're gonna guide the people, and you're gonna educate the
Yes.
people, and and I'm like, yes, what I'm gonna do. So
Yes.
yeah, I mean, I just appreciate all the people who have really just given me insight. And when people talk about raising kids, that it takes a village,
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate my village 100%.
Ah, that's great. And so I wanted to share and shout out to Anthony Banks because he was the one that
Yes,
connected Jessica and I, and he's a church member of hers. But
yes.
in saying that, he felt like she was somebody who would be amazing to come onto the platform to share what she does. And I love that when he meets great people, he sends them my way. And I think that's just really important, but it speaks a lot about you and your character and how you show up and how you intentionally make sure that people understand the depths of what it means to be in estate planning and to get it done. And a lot of people, do jobs and they have careers, but they're not always passionate about it. Some people are in it for the money. Some people are in it for the notoriety or the fame. But for you, I can tell you have a humbleness of spirit to where you really want to see people, protected and taken care of. And I think that speaks volumes to why your village has been so supportive because they know that when you go out and do what you do, it is going to be effective and it's going to be done in a manner that's going to make sure that they're good. So that's an awesome place to be. I'm telling you.
Yes, and I truly, truly, as I said, appreciate. And Anthony, he said so many nice things about you as well. And
Thank
so,
you.
yeah,
That's
shout out to
good.
Anthony. Thank
Shout
you.
out to Anthony. So tell me, so now that you've done your own practice, I know that is taking up a lot more time to get it up and off the ground and putting in the hours to do all that. What exactly? And okay, exactly, I believe that Nicole, she said exactly. Jessica is a jewel. So yes,
Oh,
I
thank
figured she was. I can tell by her spirit she is. But how have you been able to balance? Like, what is the self care looking like? What are you doing to kind of make sure it's not all work for Jessica?
that, I'm still figuring that out. I am. And I realized I have not prayed as much as I have in life until this point. I felt
Mm-hmm,
like I prayed before,
mm-hmm,
right? Um, but I feel like now the way that I rely on God is just different. I mean, it's really taking it one day at a time. Um, when I started this journey out, I really wanted to make sure that I was ready mentally and physically. And so,
mm-hmm.
one thing I definitely started out, I changed my eating habits.
Okay.
I exercise more. I make sure that I try to get my um, 20 minutes a day. And I'll
Mm-hmm,
say I was able to do that more. Um, I would say during the week, I try
mm-hmm.
to make it a goal now. Like before, I didn't really worry about um, exercising as much. But I said when I start my firm, I want to make sure that physically and mentally I'm ready because I still have my 5-year-old to keep up with. And so I don't want to be burnt out. So I pray more, I eat better, we make sure we exercise, and we try to also make sure we just have fun. We try to make sure we just have fun. And so that's kind of, I think, what's been working so far.
Mm-hmm. But that's a good thing, taking care of mind, body, and spirit always will help you to kind of get that balance that you need, even when you sometimes feel like it's overwhelming, because being a champion for people to be protected and all that is a lot of weight to carry, but you have looked like you're carrying it very well. So
Oh,
we are
thank
glad to
you.
have you be on here to share this with us. So tell us what's next for Jessica Johnson and the Jessica Johnson Law Office.
So I'm really hoping to just keep getting the word out,
Mhm.
not just for my firm, but really just getting the word out that estate planning is for everyone. It's because what I'm finding is that people believe it, right? People believe it when it's almost, I don't want to say almost too late,
Mhm.
but when they're already under so much stress and under so
Yeah.
much pressure.
Yeah.
And so my goal is really to just keep getting the word out and trying to educate our community that estate planning is for everyone and that we do need to make sure that we put something in place. I tell people, if you do it with me, that's great. But you can do some of this stuff on your own as well. And so just making sure that you do something because we hear so many times people are doing these GoFundMe. And I'm not knocking GoFundMe, but I tell people just with a little bit of planning and just taking a moment to just sit down just for a little bit, you won't have to nobody will ever have to set up a GoFundMe account for you. No one will ever have to do that. Um, with just a little bit of planning. And so my big goal is really to just keep getting the word out that estate planning is for everyone and that you don't have to be rich to, make sure that you are planning for yourself and looking into the future for your children.
That's good. I'm telling you, so much good information. I hope everyone that's been on here, I see some of the people are tagging people and telling them to tune in because it is so necessary and it's so needed. And I would like to ask Jessica for people who have found themselves in a position where maybe their family didn't take advantage of estate planning, didn't have anything set up. Can you come back from that? Is there something that can be done after it's went to the left, I guess, and nothing was put in place?
Well, most of the time in certain jurisdictions, and I won't give legal advice for
Mm-hmm.
different jurisdictions because I know different people are on this podcast are from different states. But I wouldn't say anything is just completely broken. But, and when you say if it just nothing was planned, and let's say someone's incapacitated, um, I tell people have family members and know what your family members want. I think once we have the tough, conversations with people, our family members, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times if something does go south, it's easier to, fix when people actually know what you want,
Yeah.
or people know, how to get in contact with your employer, what bank accounts you have, what choices would you like for your end of care life. If people just
Yeah.
know, sometimes it just takes having those family conversations in the beginning. But if it goes south, you can contact an attorney to kind of help. Because in most jurisdictions, if you don't have anything in writing or if you don't have anything, the courts will decide,
Mm-hmm.
how your assets go to your families. And so estate planning, depending on what type of tool you use, can help you avoid going to court or through the probate
Yeah.
process.
Yes. The probate process can be very painful for people who don't know what all is going on. And, again, we mistakenly think that just because, you're in the family that things are just going to automatically drop down to you. And that's not always the case. And you have to think about, if somebody's had an illness, medical bills, there are a lot of things that can take precedence and you'll wind up not being able to get anything. So yes, Nicole's said very long and expensive. Absolutely. And so that's one of the beauty of getting with someone like Jessica to explain things to you and tell you how to position yourself so that that's not a worry. Because again, it's all about having peace of mind. And I think that, we underestimate how important peace is until you get to a point point where you're stressed out now because things are not going the way that you intended it to go. So
Right.
the conversations, yes, definitely need to be had around the table to say that, listen, I know we don't want to talk about it, but
Mhm.
again, Jessica, you mentioned not only about talking about when somebody passes away, but just even being incapacitated to where you
Right.
can't make a decision. You got to think about that also. So,
Right.
Kelly, thank you so much. I saw you popped in. You said we must have the conversations with our families. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think that a lot of times we shy away from that, but
Mhm.
it is a needed thing because things happen. And she says, yes, it's tough, but a must. Very, very
Yes.
good. It's tough, but it's a must.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's
So,
so, yep, you're right. I was going to say, you mentioned incapacitation. I have that conversation with uh, people who are single all the time who are like, I don't have children. So why do I
mhm,
need to estate plan, doing the estate planning? And you nailed it. If you're incapacitated, you're going to want to have had a conversation with somebody. Even if you don't have children, you want to
mhm.
make sure looking out for yourself.
Yeah. That's good. Because again, I mean, now that you brought that up about being single, you think if you're talking about having to also look for not just grandparents and godparents, but actually guardians for your children, when you're single, you need to have somebody who can make decisions for you if something happens.
Right.
Because you don't, time sometimes is of the essence. And if you need emergency surgery, you need someone who can step in and say
Right.
yes versus them trying to figure out who can we ask or what can we do.
Right.
So it's just really important to really start thinking now while
Right.
you are in your right mind and able body to put
Right.
some things in place. And I think, for a lot of families, this is a conversation that's long overdue.
Yes.
So what else would you like to leave the audience with, Jessica, before we end the broadcast?
Well, I just tell people, like I said, estate planning is for everyone. Don't be afraid to, jump into those conversations. I've had so many conversations with people lately that have blended families.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I want to make sure that I'm not leaving out my children, from my previous relationship.
Yeah.
So, I'm just telling people, put something in paper on paper. Talk to your family members. Think about protecting yourself. Think about how you're going to make sure that your children are protected and cared for. And as I said earlier, do it for the peace of mind and
Yeah.
knowing that, you know, it's not always just about you, that you're doing this so your family can have the peace of mind. You're doing this so your family will know what your legacy is.
Mm.
You want to make sure that your family knows. Um, I tell people, if you have religious beliefs, if you have anything that you want to pass on, let it be known what you want passed on, because that stuff is what makes you who you are. So,
Yeah.
you know, just
That's
plan
good.
for it.
That's great. Because I think people probably never even think about that. But the traditions, the religious traditions, or even things that are family heirlooms or just
Right.
things that are important to you that you want someone to have. You want to
Mhm.
be able to, you want to know that it's going to who you want it to go to. I see Deborah put up here, after having to bury my dad, I was determined to make things easier for my children, and I did, thank God. Yes, I know. I can't even imagine how wonderful of a feeling it is to have been on one side of the coin and making sure your children don't have to experience that. And that's just a
Yes.
great thing that you were able to do that. So yes,
Yes.
shout out to everybody who has officially made a estate plan, and then for those who are getting this information for the first time, or maybe have been planning and putting it off, let's make sure we make it happen. Let's reach out to someone to, if you're in the DC area, most definitely go to the Jessica Johnson Law Office and
Oh,
make sure that
yes.
you get with Jessica so she can help you to get it together. And Jessica, I believe on the bottom they can reach you. It's www.jessicajohnsonlaw.com.
That's right. That's right.
Perfect, perfect. Social media, is there a way for them to get in contact with you, or?
Yes, I am on Facebook and Instagram as well. The Instagram relatively new, but Facebook, anyone can reach me there as well, or on my website.
Awesome, awesome. Well, for those of you seeing it scrolling on the bottom, again, this is Jessica Johnson, and I love the fact she's opened up her own law firm. She is out here really making sure that people are being protected, leaving the legacy that you want is so important. Jessica, again, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Shout out to your village for encouraging you to be pursuing your passion and the things that you want to see people do, and for having such a humble spirit while you're doing it. Kelly says, same here, going through with my aunt with her long-term care. I didn't want my husband or children to experience that. Yes, amen, amen.
Yeah.
Erica, Elizabeth says, thank you, Jessica.
Oh,
Yes,
thank
thank you so
you.
much. Great information. Again, guys, make sure if you feel like you didn't catch it, please go back, check the replay out again just to get the information on what you need. And then reach out to Jessica because bottom line, I'm sure even if, and Jessica, let me make sure I'm not overstepping, but even if they're not in the state of, in DC, can they still just reach out for information?
You can definitely give me a call. I know attorneys practically everywhere. And so I can definitely, give you information that can help you in your jurisdiction as far as any attorneys there or legal aid in the area or other attorneys or people that could help you out as well. So definitely, definitely.
Awesome, awesome. And honey, listen, they coming on through with it. Deborah says, great ideas to have a family Zoom meeting and invite Jessica to discuss this with the family.
Oh,
That is what my family has done. That's awesome. Great, great,
yeah,
great. That is great. Yes. Oh,
yeah,
so y'all make sure y'all do that then. Y'all reach out to Jessica. Her information is scrolling on the bottom and get a consult. Again, like she said, get on Zoom, have some questions answered and be able to,
yes,
tap into that because the bottom line, y'all know with COVID or with anything really, you don't want to wait until something tragic happens. You want to be in a position
yes,
to make decisions while you can, while you're thinking clearly, and you want to make sure that somebody is able to get the things that you've worked hard to have, and you want to make sure everything is set in place for that. So absolutely. Nicole
yes.
says, awesome job as always, Jessica. So again, thank you
Oh,
so much for being on the iShine
thank
podcast. We know
you.
for sure you are somebody who is out here shining a bright light, and we are so glad we had an opportunity to spotlight you.
And thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Listen, for everybody who is tuning in, thank you guys so much. Y'all have been an amazing audience supporting Jessica. Looks like some of her family and friends are in here, have tagged some people. So I love it. And y'all, please just make sure that you not only listen to the information, but also make moves to put your stuff in place so that you too can have peace of mind when it comes to taking care of your family. Until
Yes.
then, you guys have a blessed night, and we'll catch you next week on the iShine podcast.
Take
Have a good one.
care. Thank you.
You're welcome.